Hey guys, welcome to a new video, and this video is part of the Thirdweb React version 5 series, and in this video we are covering the ConnectButton component and how exactly we can customize our users' experience while they are interacting with our website. Now the ConnectButton component has a lot of extensive features which includes connecting different kinds of wallets as well as switching chains and keeping track of their balance and executing transactions right from the Connect model. Now this is going to be a beginner friendly tutorial, so even if you are new to Web3 development in general, I hope that you will find this video useful in helping you develop Web3 applications. If you are stuck somewhere, you can always join my Discord server. I will leave the link down in the comments below, and the code that we'll be writing in this tutorial will be available on the GitHub, so I will leave the GitHub repository link in the description as well as in the comments below. Now without wasting much time, let's go ahead and get started with this tutorial. Alright, so let's go ahead and try and understand what a wallet is. And if you already know what a wallet is or you have been using it for quite a while, then you can go ahead and skip this chapter and you can start with the chapter where we start integrating, customizing our ConnectButton component. But if you're completely new to Web3 and you want to understand what a Web3 wallet is, then this section is for you. So a wallet is basically a lot like a bank account, and the difference is that it executes transactions on the blockchain, and the way it works obviously is also a lot different from how a bank account works, but we can cover some similarities between the two. So just how a wallet stores funds, just how a bank account stores funds, and that's exactly what wallet does as well. It stores your funds on different chains for different currencies, and you can also transfer those funds to different wallets. You can also receive those funds inside your wallet. And just how each bank account has an account number associated to it, which allows people to send money to that particular bank account. Like for example, if I want to send some money to my friend, to my friend's bank account, I will type in his bank account number as well as the amount that I want to send, and then I will hit on send on the bank's website. So the transaction kind of works in that way as well in case of wallets, because you need to type in the wallet address, which is exactly like an account number, which is publicly visible to everyone, and it allows users to send money from one wallet to another wallet. And just how each bank account has a PIN or a password that you need to enter before you can log into your bank's website and execute or send money to someone else. Similarly, even for wallets, we have something called the private key that is used to access the wallet. Now, a lot of new wallets have actually removed the need to have private keys. They might still be using private keys internally, but for example, wallets like MetaMask just use something like a mnemonic that is a bunch of different random words that are arranged in a particular order that allow you to import your wallets and use them and perform actions using the wallet. So it's kind of like a way of logging into your wallet. And let's go ahead and look at some of the examples of wallets, and most popular wallets are MetaMask, Coinbase, and Wallet Connect. Now the difference between Wallet Connect and other kinds of wallets is that Wallet Connect itself is like a way to support multiple wallets, and it's kind of like an aggregator of different wallets, so you can connect to any application using the MetaMask wallet or Coinbase wallet. But in the case of Wallet Connect, you can connect your MetaMask to Wallet Connect a wallet, which will in turn connect to the application as a Wallet Connect wallet instead of connecting as a MetaMask wallet. And broadly speaking, there are two types of wallets. Now, obviously, it really depends on what factor you're using to classify the wallet, but there are cold wallets as well as hot wallets. And In the case of cold wallets, these are physical wallets, like could be a hard drive or a USB and something like that, and it stores the private key. So as I said earlier, it's like a password for wallets, and you need to have physical possession of these cold wallets or physical wallets in order to be able to use them. So there's obviously a risk of losing them, and in case you displace them or anywhere, like on a plane or while you're traveling or inside your home, then you're going to unfortunately lose access to all the funds that were stored in that particular wallet. And the second type of wallets are hot wallets that have become much more popular than the cold wallets. Basically, these are software wallets. For example, all the wallet examples that I gave over here are all hot wallets. So these are softwares that store your private key, and they basically provide a much more ease of accessing your wallet, and they have a graphical user interface or a great user experience that allows you to execute transactions using your wallet in a much easier and simple way. And a lot of these hot wallets come in the form of apps or browser extensions that obviously, because they are software, these can be much more prone to attacks as opposed to cold wallets. Software is always prone to cyber attacks or other attacks by hackers. But on the other hand, cold wallets are generally considered much more safe, provided you can ensure that you don't lose the cold wallet or forget the private keys. Now that you know a little bit about what wallets are, let's go ahead and see how we can set up the MetaMask wallet, which is a very beginner-friendly wallet and one of the most popular wallets out there. And it's really great if you're just starting out with Web3. So I'm going to go ahead to the Chrome Web Store, and the URL is chromewebstore.google.com. And if you're using Chrome, then this is the URL, but if you're using a different browser, then it might be a different URL for your browser. But this is the extension marketplace that allows you to install different extensions. And what we're going to do is we're going to install the MetaMask wallet extension for Chrome, which allows us to interact with different websites using our MetaMask wallet. So let's go ahead and type in MetaMask over here and hit enter. Now the very first result will be MetaMask, which is a fox-like icon, and since I already have it installed, it says here remove from Chrome. But in your case, if you don't have it already, then it will say installed. So go ahead and click on that, and the installation process is extremely simple for MetaMask as well. So you don't need to worry about complexities surrounding how you can set up a MetaMask wallet. The only thing that you need to remember during the setup process is the mnemonic key, which is a bunch of random words in a particular order, and you need to copy that mnemonic phrase or key, and you need to paste it somewhere like in your Notes app, or email it to your own email ID, whatever you find safe, because you will use that mnemonic key to import your wallets in different MetaMask applications. So you can use the mnemonic key to import your wallet if in case you need to delete and install MetaMask again. And once you're done installing, you can see how the MetaMask wallet UI is. And once you have set up the wallet, and all your accounts will be listed over here in this drop down, and you can go ahead and switch to any wallet you please. And over here on the top left side, you find all the list of chains that are available for your MetaMask wallet. Now I have more chains than the default ones that come with MetaMask, and if you want to set up custom chains, then you need to go to settings, and you need to go to networks, and you need to click on add network. Then it will redirect you to this particular URL where you will be able to add a new network. You can click on add manually however you please, and you can enter all this information, the most important one being RPC URL and chain ID, and that way you can add a new network to MetaMask. The reason I'm showing you this is because it's very common for people to add a new network to MetaMask, because the default ones are generally not sufficient. And you can also do other stuff in MetaMask, like you can send or receive money using a wallet, and you can also perform these actions, for example, bridge, swap, and buy and sell. You can, if you have any tokens, you can also see them in the tokens section over here. It will also display any NFTs that you have, but do remember that you need to change your chain in order to look at your assets. So if I switch to Sepolia testnet, you can see that my asset list is a lot bigger when compared to the Polygon mainnet, and that's because each asset is available only for that specific chain that the asset belongs to. And you can also see a list of activities of transactions. You can also, let me show you how you can send some money in MetaMask. Let me switch back to, actually let me just send some money to my own account. And the thing that you need to remember about each transaction is that for every single blockchain transaction, there is an associated fee that is also known as gas fee, and each transaction costs a different amount of gas, and the gas fee is the amount of fee per gas. So if you are, for example, sending a large amount of funds over blockchain, then obviously the fee will be higher. And if you're deploying a smart contract on the blockchain, and depending on the complexity of the smart contract and the rules of the smart contract, the gas fee can vary, can vary greatly. So let's go ahead and transfer a small amount, let's say 0.001, and as soon as you enter an amount, it calculates the gas fee, and the gas fee always keeps updating in real time. Let's click on next. And you can see how much money you're sending. It's an overview of the transaction. You can see the name of the native currency, and you can see the estimated fee, and you can click on confirm. The estimated fee also depends a lot on how much the network traffic is. So if there's a lot of transactions going on, then the estimated fee will be higher, and this is because the miners of the transaction will need a lot higher transaction or gas fee in order to mine it. So it's a way to motivate them to choose your transaction out of the transaction pool. Now don't worry if these words sound a little too complicated, because we will look at how transactions work and on the blockchain. And you can see our contract, we have just confirmed our transaction, and if you click on it, you can see the details of the transaction. You can also look at other details if you go to the Blockchain Explorer, which is basically a website that shows the list of transactions that are happening. So each blockchain has its own explorer, which is a website that shows you all the transactions. It can be anything ranging from a simple token transfer to deploying a smart contract, like deploying a token contract or a staking contract. It could be executing a smart contract function on the blockchain. So all of these actions count as blockchain transactions, and they're all listed on their own specific blockchain explorer website. In the case of Sepolia, we have sepolia.etherscan.io, and on this particular website we can see the list of transactions that are happening on the Sepolia blockchain in real time, and for each transaction that happens, we have more details about the transaction available to us. For example, the transaction hash, which is a unique transaction hash for each transaction on the blockchain, and it is generated using your wallet's private key. So whenever you're making a transaction on the blockchain, then your wallet's private keys are used to sign the transaction in a way to ensure that your transaction is validated, or is a valid transaction, and in that process the transaction hash is executed. And you can also see the status of the transaction, the block number, which is also unique, the timestamp, and you can also see information like who sent the money to whom. So this is the wallet address that I used to send money to my other wallet address. This is the value of the transaction. This is the fee that we had to pay the miners to execute the transaction. and this is the gas price. It's generally calculated in gray. Okay, great. So I guess that's about it for now, and you kind of have an idea about how the MetaMask wallet works and some idea about how you can add a new network to MetaMask. So let's go ahead and continue with the tutorial. Let's start implementing the customizations for our ConnectButton component that allows us to support multiple wallets. Now there are a lot more types of wallets than we discussed in this video, other than the normal ones like MetaMask or Coinbase wallets, also known as third-party wallets. We also have embedded or in-app wallets and smart wallets. We won't be covering embedded wallets or smart wallets because I want to cover them in a separate video in much more detail, because I want to go through exactly how these wallets work in theory, and then I want to show you guys how you can implement them in Thirdweb in 100 different ways. So without wasting much time, let's actually get started with customizing our ConnectButton component. Okay, so in the previous video, if you remember, we had already imported the ConnectButton component and we had also included it as part of the JSX. And since I'm already running the application, you can see that the Connect Wallet button has been added to our Next.js application. If you click on it, we can also connect to our wallet by clicking on it, and it will display a user interface that shows you the wallet address and also the token balance. By default, it obviously displays the token balance of the native token of that particular chain, but we will also see how we can customize all of that in a few minutes. So let's go ahead and start playing around with our ConnectButton component. Now, if you want to know all the possible customizations for the ConnectButton component, you can always go back to the Thirdweb SDK documentation. So in this series, we're covering the V5, which is the latest version as of this date. And you can see I'm on the Getting Started page. But since we are covering a UI component, we can navigate to the UI components accordion right over here. If you click on that, it will expand and you will notice that there is a ConnectButton component mentioned here. Let's go ahead and click on that, and we arrive at this particular URL, and this contains all the information that you need in order to make your ConnectButton component start working. And there are a bunch of examples given here that you can refer to if you want to use this component, but we have already covered how you can get started with the component. So let's go ahead and start customizing it. If you scroll further down below, you will notice that you can find all the available config options over here, and let's go ahead and click on that, and then it redirects us to a new page, which is this ConnectButton props. And this is extremely helpful because this basically lists all the ways that we can customize our ConnectButton component. So all the props that can be passed to the ConnectButton component are mentioned here, as well as their types. So if you're confused about what kind of types are supported, you can always come to this URL in the documentation where you will find all the supported types over here. And if you scroll further down below, you'll notice that there are a bunch of options, and each option is expandable, and there's a description of what that particular prop does, as well as an example given below to help you understand how you can implement that particular prop. In this particular tutorial, we will not be looking at things like account abstraction or auth or anything related to smart wallets or Ethereum sign-in, because I want to cover them in a separate video. That way it will be a lot more easy for beginners to follow along. So let's go ahead and look at the first prop, which is the appMetadata prop. So when when your users are connecting their wallets to your website, you want their wallets to get some kind of information about your website, and I will actually highly recommend that you always pass an app metadata as a prop to your ConnectButton component, because it allows users wallet to understand what kind of website it is. And whenever users are interacting with your website, like for example when they are executing a transaction through your dApp, that way they will be able to see your website's information on their wallet. And it's pretty it kind of makes your website a lot more professional looking, and it looks like your name is a lot more established in the industry, stuff like that. Pretty much is good for your brand if you're passing a metadata to the user's wallet. Now, not all the wallets display your app's metadata. For example, MetaMask does not really display your app's metadata. Usually it just displays it just shows the app's fav icon, but there are a lot of wallets that like to display the app's metadata that the wallet is connected to, in which case it is extremely useful to have prop passed to your ConnectButton component. So it's very easy to implement. You just need to give it the name of your application, and you can give it the URL where your app has been deployed, and you can give it a description about what the app does. For example, if it's a decentralized application that allows users to stake or unstake their tokens, then you can give the description as a dApp that allows staking and unstaking. And then you can also pass in the logo URL, which is pretty cool. And this is pretty simple and straightforward to implement. Let's go back to our application. Actually, let's go ahead and clean up our JSX, because currently we are displaying the default UI of Next.js. But let's clean it up so that it's a lot easier to follow along. Let's hit save. We probably need to build the application again. So let's run npm run build. It should take a few seconds to build the application. Alright, so let's go ahead and start the server again by running npm start. Let's refresh the page. Great, so now we only see the connect wallet button here, and let's go ahead and add the app metadata prop. So it's going to be an object, and as we saw in the documentation, let's just go ahead and copy this and let's paste it here. Great. So in our case, we can name the app as a DeFi app. You can name it anything you want. Generally, it's your brand name, but for this example, I'm just going to name it DeFi app. For the URL, you can add anything. In this case, I'll just add something random like defiapp.com. In the description, you can say something like the greatest DeFi app on earth. Great. So as far as the logo URL goes, you can add any URL you want, or you can even get the URL from Google. Now let's go ahead and move on to the next prop. I'm going to close this accordion, and since we are not covering auth in this video, we can just move on to autoConnect. It says here that when the user has connected their wallet to your site, this determines whether or not you automatically connect to the last connected wallet when the user visits your site again in the future. So what this prop actually does is when the user connects to your wallet, when the user connects to their wallet on your website once, and let's say that he opens your website, he closes the tab and opens your website again. Do you want, whether or not you want to allow users to auto-connect to your website with their wallet or not. You can define it using this prop, and you can pass a Boolean value. So autoConnect can be true or false, and if it's true, then it will obviously autoConnect whenever the user enters your website. It will look for and the Thirdweb will automatically try connecting the user's wallet to your website. Otherwise, if it's set to false, then even if the user had connected to your website with their wallet in the past, it will still never auto-connect. There's a value called timeout that you can pass to auto-connect, and this basically means is that when the user comes to your website and autoConnect is enabled, then it will try to autoConnect for a few seconds, and if the number of seconds that you define here has already passed, then and the user and your app or Thirdweb SDK still cannot find the user's wallet to connect, then it will automatically stop trying to connect. Because in some cases, if you don't define the timeout value, then the Thirdweb SDK will always keep searching for the user's wallet, and it could be that it could become like an infinite loading glitch that just keeps loading forever, and it may cause a bad user experience. So I highly recommend to define a timeout. This value needs to be in milliseconds. So 15,000 means it's going to be trying to connect for 15 seconds, and if it's not able to connect in that amount of time, then it will automatically cancel the loading and it will stop trying to connect to the user's wallet. So let's go ahead and implement autoConnect. Let's set this as true. And now let me show you how this looks like. So I'm now going to close this tab and open it again, and it should automatically connect now. Sorry, it's the wrong URL. Great. So as you saw, it was loading there for a few seconds, and then it automatically connected to the wallet, which means that whenever I visit this website, and if I had previously connected to this website with my wallet, then if I visit it again, then it will automatically try to connect. Now let me show you what happens if we set autoConnect as false. Great, so it's connected. Now I'm going to close the tab and open it again. And let's see what happens. So as you see, it did not automatically connect to my wallet, even though before closing the tab, I had connected my wallet to this app, and that's because we passed this prop that says autoConnect equals false. And you can obviously, as I said, you can pass a timeout value, and you can define it in milliseconds. So it can be 1000, or it can be any number of any amount of time that you wanted to try looking for a wallet. And generally, I think 10 seconds or 15 seconds is enough. But if it's more than that, it might be too annoying for the user. And if when you set a timeout value, then it automatically assumes that autoConnect has been enabled. So let's go back to our application. Let me close this tab and open it again to see what happens. Great, so obviously it's able to detect our wallet, and in the case that it's not, then it will only try for 10 seconds, and if the 10 seconds have passed but it's still not able to find the wallet, then it will just stop loading completely, and you will see a normal Connect Wallet button that says Connect Wallet. Great, so now that we have covered autoConnect prop. Alright, great. So let's go ahead and move on to the next prop, which is the chain prop. Just click on that, and yeah, so it says here that it allows you to connect to the blockchain once the wallet is connected. So in a lot of cases, you may have a decentralized application that, for example, has a few smart contracts deployed on a particular chain, let's say Arbitrum. So you may want, for example, your users to be able to stake their tokens on the Arbitrum mainnet. So in that case, you want your users to be switched to the Arbitrum mainnet once they have connected to your dApp using their wallet. And the reason you need your users on that particular chain is because you want them to be able to execute a transaction using a smart contract that's been deployed on the Arbitrum chain. In this case, it's a staking smart contract that's deployed on the Arbitrum chain. So that was just an example of when this prop might be useful, but let's go ahead and try implementing this. So let's go back to our application and write here chain. Now please don't get confused because there are two props. One is chain and another is chains. So the chains prop, actually we're going to cover it in a bit, but what it does is that you can specify the list of chains that are available to the users using the ConnectButton component. But for now, let's just stick to the current prop that's called chain. So in order to specify a chain, we need to pass in a chain. So let's go ahead and import a chain. Let's go ahead and import Polygon, and we are getting the chains from thirdweb/chains. In the previous versions, we had to import it from thirdwebdev/chains, but now it's just thirdweb/chains. So since we have imported the Polygon chain, let's go ahead and pass this to the chain prop. And if you hover over Polygon, and let's actually see what the Polygon chain contains. What kind of information does this chain object contain? So when you go to the code, and the way you do this is, if you're on Windows laptop, then you can, if you are using Windows, then you can hold Control and click on it. But if you're on Mac like I am, then you can hold Command and right click, and it will take you to the source file. And you can look at the kind of information we can get in the chain. So they have used the define chain, which can be used to define a custom chain as well. I'm going to show how to do that in a future video, but for now, let's just look at the information that's contained in Polygon. So the very first thing we see here is the ID, which is the chain ID. It uniquely identifies that particular chain. And the second information here is the name of the chain. And the third is the native currency. And this is basically the token that's used on that particular blockchain. So you define what the native currency is, and this will be used by default as the native token. And you can also define the blockchain explorers. So notice how we can define multiple blockchain explorers, and a blockchain explorer is basically a website that allows you to track different transactions that have been executed on the blockchain. So it could be a simple transferring the fund transaction, or it could be a more advanced kind of transaction using a smart contract. So yeah, these are the websites, and you can mention any website you want. For Polygon, the most popular explorer is actually Polygon Scan, so that's why we have used Polygon Scan URL. By default, Thirdweb provides a bunch of chains, and Polygon is one of them. And let's go back to our application and save this file. And remember, we have defined the chain as Polygon. Let's go back to our app. Let me go ahead and disconnect our wallet. So just let's also go ahead and refresh the page. Cool. So let's go ahead and connect to our wallet. And you can see, as soon as the wallet was connected, it has prompted me to switch the chain from BNB Smart Chain Testnet, which my wallet was previously connected to. and it's asking me to switch to the Polygon mainnet, which is the same chain that we defined in our code. And let's go ahead and switch network. Great, so now it has switched the network to Polygon, and as you remember, the native currency is Matic, so that's why the Matic token, the name Matic is being displayed here. As we saw over here, this is the same value that gets displayed once you have connected the wallet. So let's go ahead and move on to the next prop. Yeah, we were on this page. Let's scroll further below. We have looked at the chain prop. Let's close this and open the chains prop. Now this is this definition is very straightforward. As it says here, it's an array of chains that your app supports. Now on your application, there might be multiple smart contract products. For example, you may allow your users to stake their tokens on multiple different chains. So other than, for example, just Arbitrum, you could also have smart contracts or staking contracts on other chains such as Binance mainnet, or it could be another chain like Polygon mainnet, etc. So in that case, you want your users to be able to switch to these chains directly from your ConnectButton component. Because we saw earlier that if you click on the ConnectButton component, once you have connected your wallet, then you will find a bunch of options here, and in this case you can also see the chain that your ConnectButton supports. And if you look at the list of chains that's supported, basically it shows none, because if you remember in the version 4 we could list a lot of chains. We had a list of chains that were supported by the ConnectButton component by default, but in the V5 version we don't have a default list of chains supported, and we need to support these chains by defining them manually and passing all of those chains that we want to support to the chains prop. So let's go back and add the chains prop over here, and it accepts an array of chains, so we need to write open and close brackets. And let's go ahead and import more chains. I'm going to import Arbitrum. Let's also import Binance. And for now, that's about it. Let's keep it simple. And let's add these chains to this list. Great, so we have added a total of 3 chains to the chains prop. And let's go ahead and refresh the page in order for it to reflect the changes that we have just made. Just click on the button and click on the list of chains, and boom, you can see that we now see 3 chains. Earlier we could only see 1. And if you go to mainnets, you can also classify chains based on whether they are mainnet or testnet chains. So the difference between mainnet and testnet is that the mainnet chains are used for actual deployment of smart contracts, and they are basically the production chains. So basically it's like you are truly deploying a smart contract that you want your users to be able to use. On the other hand, testnets are just you can say test chains, and it's generally much cheaper to deploy smart contracts, and the gas fee is extremely low, and you can use some free test tokens to deploy contracts. That way you can test your contracts on the testnet, and they're used during the development to ensure that everything is working fine and the smart contract is good, and we can finally proceed to deploying on the mainnet. So mainnet is basically the final is the production blockchain. So let's go ahead and move on to the next prop. Let's close this, and we have already covered the client prop in the previous video, but just so you know what it does, it's an entry point to the Thirdweb SDK, and you basically require it for every single thing. If you don't pass the client ID to the if you don't pass the client ID to the ConnectButton component, then it simply won't work. So it's a prerequisite and it's the most important prop. It's the only prop that's actually mandatory to be passed, and others are just optional. And you need to create a Thirdweb client object using the create Thirdweb client. As you remember in the last video, we did this in the client.ts file. We imported create Thirdweb client from Thirdweb, and then we initialized the client constant with the create Thirdweb client object, and to the create Thirdweb client object we passed another object that contained the client ID. And as you remember, we stored the client ID in a .env file right over here. So we are getting this client ID and we are passing it to the create Thirdweb client to create a new Thirdweb client, and this particular client gets passed to the connect button right over here in order for it to work. And this was not required in the version 4 SDK, but this is mandatory now. So let's go ahead to the next prop, and it says connect button. So you might want to display a completely different UI when your users are not connected to your website, and you don't like the default UI, which is this. So when you're not connected to the website with your wallet, then this is how the connect button component will look like. But in a lot of cases you don't want it to look like this. You want to maybe customize what the text says, or what the color background color is, or what the width of the button is, and you can customize all of those things using the connect button prop. And let's go ahead and copy this prop and go back to our application and paste it, and let's see what changes we can make to make our button look a lot different. So the default label is connect wallet, but let's change it to something else. For example, click me to connect to wallet. It's a long text, and obviously it's not better than the previous one, but we just want to see the changes reflect in our application. Let's also go ahead and change the style. So we could probably change the background color to something else like yellow, and I've saved the file, and let's go back. Great, so you can see the changes have been reflected back on the application. The background color has changed, and so has the text. But keep in mind that this particular prop, that's called the connect button prop, only applies to the button that you see when you're not connected with any wallet to the website. Because as soon as I connect to a wallet, then there's a completely different UI being displayed here, which you can also change using a very different prop. Okay, great. So let's go ahead and move on to our next prop that's displayed here, and it says the connect model. Now the connect model is the pop-up that gets displayed when the user is trying to connect his wallet to your website. Now let's go ahead and disconnect the wallet, and let's click on connect to wallet, and this is the model that's being referred here. It's called the connect model, and you can see a bunch of wallet options on the left and a bunch of sign-in options on the right, and you can basically customize all of these things to some extent. So let's go ahead and move on to the next prop, which is the connect model prop. And what this connect model prop does is that it basically allows you to change the UI that's displayed when the user is trying to connect their wallet to your application, and this is the model that we're talking about. Now if you're hearing the word model for the first time, then it just basically means pop-up. So it's synonymous with the pop-ups, and when you're trying to connect your wallet and you click on the button while you're not connected, and this is the pop-up that gets displayed on your screen, and this is called the connect model. And over here you can see a bunch of wallets being displayed on the left side, and on the right side you have a bunch of sign-in options as well, and it says powered by Thirdweb at the bottom. And you can go ahead and customize most of these things. You can go ahead and customize most of these options. And let's see how we can change some of these UI elements using the Connect model prop. So let's go back to the documentation, and if you notice when you hover over it, this basically is redirecting you to a new page in the documentation. And when you go to that page, you'll notice a bunch of options being displayed here. So these are the options that allow you to customize how the Connect model looks. So let's go ahead and copy this and go back to our application. Now let's add a new model, a new prop that's known as the Connect model prop, and paste it here. Now this gives us an error because what we have copy pasted is not the actual value, it's just the type of them. But what we need to do is modify this so that we can pass it as a value. So privacy policy URL is what's displayed in the model. By default it's not displayed, so in order to display it you need to provide a value in the form of a string that needs to contain a URL to the privacy policy if your app has any. So let's go ahead and type in a random URL like privacy.com. Great. So let's change. For now, let's just go ahead and comment out all of the values so that we can look at each of these values in real time. There's also another thing that we need to do. We need to pass in as a nested object. Great. So let's go back to our application and refresh the page to make sure the change is taking effect, although you don't need to do that because it already builds it as soon as you save the file. The next phase already builds the application. But let's go ahead and see how our Connect model has changed. Boom. So you can see a new text has been added which wasn't there before. It says, by connecting you agree to the privacy policy, and when you click on that, it redirects you to privacy.com, which is just a random URL that I came up with. So we know that this works, and let's go ahead and try modifying a different property. And this time let's modify this value, showThirdwebBranding, and let's set it as false. So this is referring to the powered by Thirdweb text that's displayed at the very bottom, and boom, it's now gone because we have set the showThirdweb value as false, and that's why we no longer see the powered by Thirdweb text over here. Let's move on to the next property, and it's called size. So there are two variants of the model. There's a more slim version which is called compact, and basically the compact version does not display the right hand side of the model. Let's see how it looks by passing the compact value to size, and let's remove this value. Great. Let's save the file and go back to our application. Great. So as you can see, the model has been modified. Now instead of being a broad or wide model, it's now a very slim model that displays a few basic stuff. It displays sign-in options, as well as it displays an option to connect a wallet. If you click on connect a wallet, it displays the list of all the wallets that are supported by Thirdweb, and it really depends on your preference. You can display any variant you want. Let's go ahead and change this value to wide and save it. Let's go back to our application. Now wide is the default variant, so it will again display the variant that we had before. Let's move on to the next property. Let's uncomment this. So this is the termsOfServiceUrl. Let's go ahead and again pass a random string or a random URL. In here, over here, I'm just going to pass something like service.com. So I've saved the file, and let's see how our Connect model changes. Great. So now this has changed. Now it says, by connecting you agree to the terms of service as well as privacy policy. Let's go to terms of service. Okay, it basically redirects service.com to this random URL, but we're pretty much sure that it's working now. You can also change it to something else, for example lame.com. I hope that this one redirects it to the right URL. Let's click on this, and great, it takes us to lame.com. So it's working. Let's move on to the next property. It says title. So title is basically what's displayed right on the top of the screen. Over here by default it says sign in, because it assumes that that's what we will want the model to say, but we can change it to something else like connect your wallet with an exclamation mark in the end. Let's go back to our app and let's see if the change takes place or not. Great, so the change has taken place and the title now says connect your wallet. Now let's move on to the next prop, and this is the title icon. You can add an icon of your website or your app. It really depends on you. You can pass in the URL of the logo. And let's see if it's being displayed in the model or not. Let's open it, and boom, it's being displayed. Now obviously you need to keep in mind what the resolution or size of your picture is, or the image, when you're trying to add it to your Connect model. But this is just a demo to show you that it's possible to do that. Now let's go back to our code, and we see that there's one last property remaining, and it's known as the welcome screen. Before modifying it, we first need to see what kind of values can be passed to the welcome screen prop. And let's go ahead and hover over this, and as you can see, it is redirecting us to a new URL. So let's click on that. Great, so it takes us to a new page, and this page shows us the type that can be passed to the welcome screen prop. It can either take an object that consists of an image, subtitle, and a title, or it can also take in a custom React component. So what this prop does is that it allows you to customize the welcome screen on the Connect model. Now when you go back to the Connect model, you can see that there are two parts to this model. On the left hand side, we see all the ways that we can display all the wallets. But on the right hand side, we have a bunch of sign-in options, and the right hand side of this model is called the welcome screen. And this welcome screen, you can render it as a new component, or you can also pass in an image, subtitle, and a title, which will make it look more aesthetic. So let's go ahead and try implementing both the ways. First, let's go ahead and copy the object, and let's first try to pass in this particular object to see what kind of UI it renders. So obviously this is a type again, so we need to modify it as per our needs and pass in the correct value. For the image, you need to specify the height, and I'm going to choose a number like 10. And src prop basically requires you to specify the image URL, so I'm a bit lazy, so I'll use the same URL right here. And as far as the width goes, you can again pass in a number. I'll pass the value 10 to the width. Now your image object has been completed. Now we need to pass a particular subtitle text. So let's say welcome to my app. And as far as the title goes, we can write welcome and then exclamation mark. It's not the ideal one, but I just want to show you guys how it will look like. Great, so I have now saved the code, and let's go back to our application to see how it looks like. Great, so now you can see that the right hand side of the Connect model has been completely modified, and it basically displays an image, and it's the same image that we passed to the image object. Now we can obviously increase the size of this image, so I'm going to make it 30 in this case, 30 height and 30 width, and the src is the same link that we passed on the top along with the title. So these both images are basically the same. This is the title and this is the subtitle that we passed, and this is pretty much it when it comes to the welcome screen. But you can also pass a custom component, not just this particular object that we just passed. So let's go ahead and pass a custom component to the welcome screen prop. You can pass your own JSX element, but again, what you need to keep in mind is that the whatever component that you're passing, it needs to be a client function, because if you pass a server action, then it's going to give you an error, so you need to keep that in mind. Let's go back to our application and create a new component. Let's call it custom welcome screen.tsx. Let's define here use client, export default function, custom welcome screen, and let's render a div welcome. Let's say it's h1 and h2 is something else, like this is a great app. Cool. So let's go ahead and import this. I'm going to remove all the properties that we mentioned here, and I'm going to write custom welcome screen like that. I'm going to save the file. Let's go back to our application. Let's click on this button. Great. So alright, it's still loading, so that was the old screen. Let's wait for it to finish loading. Okay, so let's press on the button now. Boom. Now it's a very ugly UI, and we have only displayed 2 lines of text, but the possibilities are endless. You can render buttons or whatever you want to display on the right side of the model. You can display using this property called welcome screen, and you can pass any client function and you will be able to render almost any JSX over here. Okay, great. So let's now move on to the next prop. Let's go back to the documentation and let's go back. Great, so we are done with the connect model prop. Let's now go to the details button prop. So basically this particular prop is allowing you to change the way that the connect button component looks after the user has connected their wallet. Once the user connects to your website, by default a black background button is rendered, and according to this prop we are able to change the styling of this particular button. So let's go ahead and see what kind of options we have at our hands and when it comes to styling the connect button when the user is connected to your website. Let's go ahead and click on this, and this will take us to a new page. So let's go ahead and look at some of these props, the most important one being the style prop that allows you to style your button once the user is connected. And keep in mind that the class name prop does the same thing, except what you can do is you can write your own CSS in a CSS file and you can link it to the button using the class name property. But in our case, we are just going to do it with the style property. Let's go ahead and try implementing some custom styles. So let's write details button, which is the name of the prop, which accepts an object. Let's write style, which again is an object. Let's try to change the background color, since we know that by default it's black. Let's try changing it to something else like blue. Let's save the file and let's see if there's any change. Cool. So the background has changed to blue, which shows that our prop is actually working. We can also make obviously a lot more changes. For example, we can increase the width to something like 100 view width, which is the entire width of the screen, which is obviously not required, but just to show you what we can do with this prop. And honestly, most of the cases this particular prop is enough. You don't need to use the class name prop, but in some cases you may want to write your own CSS. So you can go ahead and write your CSS in your globals.css file, and then you can link it over here with the class name prop, and over here you write the name of the class that you have just created in your globals.css file. But I think the explanation is enough, and since it does the same thing as the style prop, let's go ahead and move on to the next prop, which is the display balance token prop. Now, once the user is connected to the wallet, some kind of information is being displayed on the button, for example, his wallet address. But in this particular case, what we can do is change the balance that's displayed over here and also the token that's displayed over here. And we can change this for each and every single specific chain. So, for example, we can specify which tokens information to be displayed here. For example, the Matic chain or the Arbitrum chain. So in all of these cases, we can specify which tokens information is displayed. I'm going to go ahead and copy this prop, and I'm going to paste it right over here. It's giving us an error because we need to import Ethereum, and there we go, I've imported Ethereum. So it says that if it's an Ethereum mainnet, that if the user is connected to the Ethereum mainnet on his wallet, then we will display this token's information, for example, the balance and the name. On the other hand, if the user is connected to Polygon mainnet, then we are going to show this token's information. So let's go back to our application, and boom, you can see that the balance is still the same because I don't have any balance USDC, but the name has certainly changed. It was Matic before, but now it's USDC. Now the next prop is the render prop, which allows you to render a custom JSX element in the form of a button. And there was something similar in Thirdweb v4 as well, where you were able to render a JSX element. You can create your own JSX element on a different file, and let me show you how we can do that. So let's go ahead and create a new file, and let's name it ConnectButton.tsx. Actually, let's go ahead and name it custom ConnectButton.tsx. The very first thing that we should understand is that whatever JSX value that we pass as a prop to any of the Thirdweb components actually need to be having a use client declaration, because internally Thirdweb components are like client components, so they will only work with other client components. So for example, if you pass a server action as instead of the JSX, then it will give you an error. So let's go ahead and create our own custom button element. So let's write use client here, and now let's go ahead and export default custom connect button. Let's name it custom connect button. Actually, we need a function as well, and let's return a very simple button element which says click me to open model. Great. So let's add the the render property that allows you to render a custom JSX element, and we're just going to import the custom connect button like that. Again, a very important part is actually adding the use client, because it allows us to use this JSX element. Okay, great. So let's save the file and go back to our application, and boom, we find that it says exactly what we asked it to say. Click me to open the model, and it says exactly that. And when you click on that, it will do the same thing that a connect button does. It opens up the model. So we have just rendered a custom connect button. It doesn't look good, but you can always customize it as per your own needs. The next prop is actually the details model prop, which allows us to customize the model that appears once you're connected to the wallet. So give me a second and let me show you what I'm talking about. So this is the model that can be modified using the details model prop, and let's go ahead and actually try modifying a few things. Let's go back to our application. Let's write here details model. It accepts an object again, and we can pass multiple properties to this object. So the very first thing you can see here is the footer property that can be passed, and the footer property is basically what's displayed on the footer, or which means on the bottommost row of the model. And let's create a footer component and see how it is being rendered inside of the model. Let's go back to our application and create a new file. Let's name it connect model footer.tsx. Again, it's important to declare use client. Let's write export default function connect model footer, and let's return a very simple JSX that says something like, hey, I'm a footer. Now let's import this and use it as the footer. Cool. And let's go back to our application to see if our changes are being displayed on the UI. It's going to take a while to load probably. Great. So let's open it, and boom, our footer gets displayed right over here. So it gets displayed right above the disconnect wallet button, but just below all of the other options that are on the connect model. Now that we know how we can customize the footer, let's go ahead and move on to the next property, which is the height disconnect. And obviously what this means is that if you pass height disconnect value as true, then it will hide this option to disconnect your wallet. Ideally, you would want to keep that option, but just in case you want to remove it, you can pass the value as false. And let's see what happens to the model now. Well, we have to pass it as true in order to hide it. I'm sorry, that's a bit confusing. And boom, it's gone. So we no longer see the option to disconnect our wallet. Now let's go ahead and move on to the next property, which is the network selector. But before that, let's go ahead and see what show testnet false it is. So this prop basically allows us to show a link to request testnet funds when the user is connected to a chain that's a testnet. So by default, the value is false. That's why we don't see any show testnet faucet. Let's go ahead and put this value as true in order to see what it really does. Now it says here that the link is given inside of the details model, which means that once you have connected to the wallet and opened this model, and so this is a place where it should display. Oh, you're not connected to the testnet, so we will need to switch to a testnet probably. Let's go ahead and switch to a testnet using MetaMask. I'm going to test to Sequoia testnet. Great, so now that we are on a testnet, it shows me additional option. This is the option that allows you to request testnet funds. Let's go back to our application. Actually, let's go back and look at our next prop that we can pass. So the next prop is network selector prop. Let's click on this to see what are the options that we can pass to the network selector prop. We will need to pass in the network selector prop as an object. So let's pass here the very first one, which is called the onCustomClick prop. And over here it says that it's a callback that is called when the add custom network button is clicked. When you go back to the connect details model, you notice that there's actually no option here that says add custom network, and that's because you will only be able to see that option if you have passed a function to the onCustomClick prop, and this prop will allow you to add a custom network to basically handle what happens when the user clicks on the add custom network button. Okay, so let's go ahead and actually define a function. Now, even for this case, you will need to define a function that's a client function, because if you forget to specify that it's a client function, then it will give you an error. So let's go ahead and create a new file, and let's name it utility.ts, and let's use client here and export a function, and we can name it something like custom network. Now over here in this function, you can implement a logic to write for users to add their own custom network. What you can do here is that ask them basic information about the network that they want to add. For example, you can ask the user about the network's chain ID as well as the network's name or token symbol. You can ask them about the network's testnet faucets, etc. And once you do all those things, you can save all that information inside of a database, and you can use that information to add to create a new chain. And you can use that new chain and you can add it to the list of chains as we saw before in the chains prop. And once you have added it to the chains prop, you can basically allow users to connect to your application using that custom chain. But again, this is a very specific use case, and it will take a long time to cover it in detail if we decide to dive deep into it. So for now, I'm just going to leave it here, but just to show you that it's working, I'm going to write here window.alert, adding a custom chain dot. Let's go ahead and import this function and pass it to our onCustomClick prop what was the name? Custom network. So custom network is the name of the function. Great. So let's save the file and go back to our application to make sure that it's working. Now let's go ahead and open this button to click and open the model, and let's go to networks, and boom, you will see that a new option has popped up here which wasn't there before, and it says add custom network. Because if you remember, if you hover over it, it says the add custom network button is displayed at the bottom of the model, but only if this prop is provided. So if you remove this prop, that option is going to disappear as well. Anyway, so if you remember well, the function that we pass to onCustomClick, and all it does is that it displays an alert box that says adding a custom chain. So let's see if it actually performs that action. I'm gonna go ahead and click on this button, and boom, we now have a window alert that says adding a custom chain, which means that whatever function or whatever code that you write inside of this function will get executed, and you can use this information to create a custom UI flow or logic to allow your users to add a custom chain to your application, to your dApp, and this way they can connect to your dApp using a chain that the user himself has provided. We need to use sections prop. Let's write here sections colon, and it accepts an array. And if you hover over sections, you can actually see an example that they have given here. Let's copy this and let's paste it right here. Let's import base from Thirdweb chains. Let's save it, and remember the label that we have set here. One is recently used, another is popular. Let's go back to our application. Let's close the model and open it again. And boom, so you can see that a new section has been added. Actually, two new sections have been added. One is recently used and another is called popular, and we have defined what chains to list under each section. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, this is the default section that's always present, and it will display all the networks, which is great. Now you know how you can add different sections to the Connect details model. Now let's move on to the next prop, and we are just going to skip over these last few ones. Two of these are already deprecated, popular chain IDs and recent chains, since because you can add them in the sections like we covered. Now let's move on to our last prop, which is the render chain prop. What the network chain prop does is that when you go to the list of networks, then you see a bunch of a list of chains that are listed here. What you can do is that you can change the information about the chain that gets displayed here. So maybe you want to remove the logo, or you want to change the logo, or you want to change the name of the chain that's being displayed here. Whatever you want, you can actually modify it using the render chain prop. So let's go ahead and let's go ahead and create a new component. Let's call it chain component.tsx. And first off, let's write here use client, and let's write here export default function chain component, and it's basically returning a button. Now let's actually see what kind of information we can actually get from the chain. So let's go ahead and we'll go to the documentation, and we notice that what a render chain, what the type that the render chain accepts is of type React.fc, which is a functional component, and it accepts network selector chain props. So let's go ahead and import network selector chain props. Network selector chain. Let's just write our network selector props, and let's click on that. Currently we are working on the render chain, and the thing with this type is that it's not exported. So if you really want to customize the list of chains and you really want to customize this particular prop, you'll have to kind of dig deep in order to find what kind of type this prop accepts. And once you do find it, you'll notice that it has the following properties. It has the chain property, so it has all the information that's related to chain. For example, the chain ID, the chain name, the logo of the chain, etc. And it also has a bunch of split chain functions. But what we are really interested in the chain ID, and if you hover over it, you can again look at what kind of values it contains. So its ID, name, it also has the chain RPC and the icon, also the native currency. So let's go ahead and write it accepts props of the type. For now, let's just write it as any, and that's because we cannot, because the Thirdweb does not export this kind of type, so it's not available for us to use. So we'll just have to look at it through this. Let's import, so it's of the type chain. So it's going to be props dot chain, and let's render the name of the chain and the chain ID together, just to make sure and to check that it's working correctly. Name, and I'm also going to render the chain ID. Cool. So it's probably going to look ugly, but just want to see that it works. Let's save this and go back here. Let's go ahead and import the chain component. Cool, and we can save this file. Let's go back to our application. Let's close the model and open it again, and we should be able to see the new changes reflected here. Let's go to the chains. Great, boom. So it's now working, and as we just saw earlier, we added the name of the chain and we are displaying the ID of the chain, and it's all working perfectly. Now again, this caters to a very specific use case, and in most cases you don't actually need to render this kind of information, but just in case you do, then this prop will be extremely useful to you. And let's go ahead and move on to the next prop. So we have covered network selector. Let's move on to pay options. So what it does is that it configures options for Thirdweb Pay. Now Thirdweb allows you to pay using its own service, and it allows users to buy tokens using crypto or fiat currency. And again, this is a bit more advanced, so I'm going to cover it in a separate video on how you can use Thirdweb Pay in your application. So we have covered the details model, and let's go to the next prop, which is the locale. So by default, ConnectButton UI uses the EN/US locale for English language users, but you can always customize the language used in Connection UI using the locale prop. Just click on this, and these are all the options that you have in your hands. So you can use all of these languages. This is English US, this is Spanish, this is Japanese, Korean, this is French, and this is German. So let's quickly see how we can implement this. Let's go back to our app and let's write locale equals. So let's make it German. Now I don't know German, but I think we'll be able to make out if it's working or not. Let's go back to our application. Let's close this model and open it again to make sure that it reflects all our changes. Great, so you can see that the language has changed. The language for this has not changed because this if button is being rendered by using our own language, because as you remember, we are rendering our own text. That's why it doesn't change the language on the button, but if you click on that, everything else has changed. The language translation for sending, for transferring tokens, for wallet connection. Actually, I can't even understand what these things are anymore. This is the way that you can modify the language that's displayed inside the wallet connect model. So let's go back to our application and move on to the next function. Sorry, the next prop. which is the onConnect prop. This allows us to execute basically any custom function that we may want to execute once the user's wallet has been connected. So let's go ahead and try adding it on Connect. Let's actually go ahead and go to our utility.ts and create a new function, and let's name it on connection successful. And again, we don't want to do much complex stuff here. Let's write an alert that says congrats, connected to wallet, and it accepts a wallet as a parameter. We'll import the wallet type, wallet dot. Now I want to display the wallet name, so unique identifier of the wallet. In this case, let's write ID. Boom. Now let's go ahead and import the function we just created on, sorry, what was the name of the function? Let's copy this and let's paste it over here. We need to import it obviously from utility file. Now I have saved the file. Let's go back to our application and see if it's working. So let's open the model. I need to switch the language back to English, which is default. So let's remove that. I'm not able to understand anything. Great. Okay, so now it's in English, and let's try disconnecting our wallet. Yeah, we had removed the option to disconnect. Let's write it as false. Cool. Now let's go ahead and disconnect. Now as soon as I connect, our onConnect function will be triggered. Let's go ahead and connect our wallet, and it should give us an alert once it's connected. Boom. So now it says congrats, connected to io.metamask wallet, which is exactly what we wanted to display right over here. Great, so it's working. So let's move on to the next function, to the next prop. Similarly, similar to onConnect, we also have non-disconnect, and let's go ahead and write that quickly as well on disconnect. And this time we are not accepting any parameters, unlike the onConnect, which was actually giving us the wallet instance. We can go ahead and write on disconnect wallet function, which says congrats, wallet has been disconnected. And I'm going to import this function. Let's go back to our application, wait for a few seconds so that our changes are displayed or reciprocated to the web app. It's loading now. Let's go ahead and disconnect. Congrats, wallet has been disconnected. Cool, so it works. Now moving on to the next prop, we can also add a list of recommended wallets. So when we open the Connect, okay, first let's comment these two props out because it's very annoying when the window.alert is being displayed. Sorry, the next prop, which is the showAllWallets prop. Now when you go to your application and click on connect to wallet, you can see that there's the last option says all wallets, and when you click on that, you can practically browse all the 350 plus wallets, and you can connect to the application using any one of those wallets. Now there might be some cases where you may not want your users to be able to connect to all of these wallets, And in that case, you can disable this particular last option, and instead of displaying all the wallets, you can only display the wallets that you want your users to be able to connect your application with. So let's go ahead and try disabling it. Oops. Show all wallets. Let's set it as false, and if you wait a few seconds and open the model again, then you can notice that that option is gone. Now let's move on to the next prop, which is the sign in button prop. Now this prop is used for when you're trying to sign in, when you're signing in, but in our case we will not be using it. Let's go to the wallet model, and over here you find that on the left side there are a bunch of wallets listed here. And what we can do basically with the recommended wallets prop is that we can display a couple of wallets as part of the recommended wallets group. So let's go ahead and implement this, and you will understand what it looks like. Let's go back to our code base and go back to the utility file. What we need to do is we need to create a new wallet. Let's go ahead and add MetaMask to recommended wallets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to import wallets. So I'm just going to add to this particular import create wallet, because we want to create a new wallet. And let's go ahead and write export MetaMask wallet. Let's write here const export const MetaMask wallet equals create wallet iu.metamask. So what this does is that it creates or initializes a wallet instance of MetaMask wallet, and you can go ahead and import this wallet in this particular file. Sorry, it's MetaMask wallet. Great. So now let's add this MetaMask wallet to the list of recommended wallets. Recommended wallets, and it accepts a list or an array. So let's add here MetaMask wallet. Let's hit save and go back to our application to make sure that MetaMask is now part of the recommended wallets. We may need to close the model and open it again. And boom, what you see here is that there's a small text below the MetaMask title that says recommended, and when the user sees this, he will probably know that, okay, this is the wallet that's recommended to be used with this dApp. So I'm gonna try and avoid any other wallet. Okay, so let's move on to the next prop, which is the supported NFTs. And if you go to the model that opens up when you're already connected to your with your wallet to the app, and you go to view funds, you'll see that it displays a bunch of different tokens. But you also have the option to display NFTs, and if the user has any NFTs on that particular chain, then the user will be able to see those NFTs. And let's try and implement a small solution to show you what I'm talking about. So you need to specify which NFT you want to display for each chain. So in this example, the chain ID is 1, which means that it is Ethereum mainnet. And if you're on the Ethereum mainnet, and if you have any Pudgy Penguins NFT, then it will be displayed inside of your wallet model. So let's go ahead and save that file. Now I'm back in the application. Let's close the model and open it again. Let's view our assets again, and boom, as you can see, a new option has popped up over here, and which means that it will now allow us to look at any NFTs that we have. But since I don't have any of the Pudgy Penguin NFT, then for that reason it does not show any NFT to me. But you need to add the NFT contract address over here, so that if the user's wallet address has any NFTs, then it will get displayed at this particular section in the wallet module. Now let's go ahead and move on to the next prop, which is the supported tokens. Now when you open the model, then there is a button that says send, and you can send tokens from your particular wallet to some other wallet, and it can be any wallet. You need to enter the amount as well, and you can also customize the tokens that are shown in the send funds screen. So when you click on this, you'll be shown a bunch of different options for tokens, but you can customize what kind of tokens are shown here. So for example, over here we are again using the chain ID of a particular chain, and we are specifying that if the user is connected to this particular chain ID, which in this case is base mainnet, then we are going to display this particular token, or we are going to add this particular token to the list of tokens that are displayed over here. So let's go ahead and copy this as well, and I'm going to paste it right below the supported NFTs prop, and instead of base token, I'm going to do it Ethereum mainnet, since we are already on this particular chain. And let's see if we can find the DAI stablecoin. Let's open this, and let's click on send again. Let's click on this. We're not able to find DAI stablecoin, and that's because we are not on the Ethereum mainnet. Now let's go ahead and switch network to Ethereum. I'm going to switch it directly from my wallet. Cool, so now we have switched. Let's go back to the model, and let's see if we can find our recently added token. So we need to click on send, and boom, as you can see, the DAI stablecoin that we added right over here is now visible to us because we are on the Ethereum mainnet, also known as chain ID 1. So since that's clear, let's move on to the next prop. So if you remember, we looked at the chain prop of the ConnectButton component, and chain prop is basically us telling Thirdweb that, hey, if the user is connected with his wallet to my application, and if he's not on this specific chain, then you need to switch his chain automatically to the chain that I specify here. But please take note that this only happens once. So once the user connects his wallet, and the check is only done once, and if the connected wallet is not equal to the chain, or the user is prompted to switch his chain to the chain that we specify over here. And obviously the user has a choice. He can either decline or accept it. So it's probably easier to show you how it works rather than say it. So let's go ahead and implement the switch button prop. I'm going to go ahead and copy this, and let's paste it here, and let's say switch chain, or let's say you are on the wrong chain. Ready? We don't need to have any class name because we are going to style it ourselves. Let's write the color as white, and font size probably as large. Great, so let's go back. If you remember, our default chain that we passed over here is Polygon. So let's go ahead and disconnect our wallet and connect again. Great. So now, as soon as I connected my wallet, it's now prompting me to switch from Ethereum mainnet to Polygon mainnet. Now switch network. Great. But what if I change the chain? Let's see what happens if I do that. Let's go back to Ethereum mainnet once again. Let's comment this prop out, which is probably the reason that it's not displaying the button that we want it to display. And let's see what happens now. Great. So now it displays a red colored button with white text, exactly how we specified over here in the switch button props. Label is the text that gets displayed on the button, whereas style is the style of the button. And it is also a good thing or a good lesson to learn that if you have a details button prop that you're using, and basically which means you're rendering a custom button, in that case your switch button prop will not work. So it's important to keep that in mind, because it will be overridden by whatever JSX you're rendering and in this particular place. So yeah, again, just to go over what just happened, because your chain is not connected to the Polygon network, that's why it's displaying a red button. And if we click on that, as you can see, it's asking us to switch to Polygon mainnet. And if we don't do that, it stays red. Let's click on that and switch to Polygon. And great. So now it's a normal button like we had before. It's displaying the balance, the wallet address, and the token name, etc., which is great. So let's go back to the documentation and move on to the next prop. The next prop is a theme prop for the Connect button, and there are basically two themes, and you can also customize or create your own theme using the theme theme object. But broadly, there's a dark theme and a light theme, and let's see what both of those look like. And as it's mentioned here, by default, it's set to dark. So let's see what the dark theme looks like. If you are already connected to with the wallet to the website, then the background color will remain dark. On the other hand, if you disconnect, then it will turn white. Over here we are rendering a custom button, but if we remove it, once again, let's go ahead and remove this. Yeah, this should be the property that will so this is how the dark mode Connect button looks like. On the other hand, if we switch to light mode, and then the Connect button, when it's not connected to any wallet, will turn black. On the other hand, if we connect to a wallet, it will turn white. So as you can see, the opposite thing is happening. Once the wallet is connected, it turns dark in the case of dark mode, but on the other hand, in case of light mode, it turns white. And you can obviously modify this theme behavior by going to the theme property, and these are all of the ways in which you can modify. As you can see, you can also add a tooltip, which is when people hover on the button, you can display what text gets displayed over there. You can obviously change the model background, which is basically the background of the pop-up that opens up. And there are a lot of ways to modify this, and I would encourage you to go ahead and play around with these properties. But for now, let's move ahead, because this tutorial is already very huge, and we still have a couple of properties to look at. So let's move on to the next prop, which is the Wallet Connect prop. So you may be willing to support Wallet Connect as a wallet on your Thirdweb powered application. And by default, Wallet Connect already uses Thirdweb's default project ID, so it's still going to work even if you don't set the project ID over here as a prop. But obviously, if you are relying on Wallet Connect, and if your users are relying on Wallet Connect, then it's very much recommended to generate your own project ID for Wallet Connect. And the way to do that is by going to walletconnect.com, and once you're here, you need to create your own account. And now I have signed in to walletconnect.com. There's a create project button. I'm going to name it something like Web3 app or amazing app in our case. And let's add a link which says it doesn't matter because we're not going to deploy it anyway. So now our wallet has been connected. Let's go ahead and get our project ID. I mean, if you scroll down below, you'll find your project ID right over here. You can copy this and go back to our application. Let's add a wallet connect prop, and you can paste the string right over here. Okay, you need to add a project ID first. Great, and now you're pretty much done. Obviously, I would recommend you to use an environment variable instead of just pasting it like this, because it's a lot safer. But just for the sake of the tutorial, I have added it like this for now. And the reason you may want to use your own project ID is that you may be able to use your own analytics. So you'll be able to see what kind of users are logging, like how many users are using Wallet Connect to connect to your application, stuff like that, which you may find useful in your business case. Great, so back to the documentation. Let's look at the wallets prop, which is very straightforward. It's basically a list of wallets that you want your app to support through the ConnectButton through the ConnectButton component. Over here you can find a bunch of wallet options, which are the default wallets that are supported by Thirdweb. But in many cases you may not want all of these wallets, or you may only want a few of these wallets, or you may want to add extra wallets to the list of default wallets, and you can do that using the wallets prop. So wallets prop is obviously a list of wallets that you need to create using the create wallet function. So let's go ahead and go back to our utility file and export a new const. This time it will be an array, and let's name it as supported wallets equals a list, and we are going to just go ahead and create a bunch of wallets like this. Let's add MetaMask, and let's see what other options we have instead of MetaMask. There's a link for all the available wallets. Let's go ahead and open this link. Great, so now we can see all the list of wallets. If you come to this particular URL, it's typescript/v5/supported wallets, and for each particular wallet you have a specific ID that you need to use in order to create that wallet. So for instance, if I want to create a safe wallet, then I need to use the ID global.safe. Let's go ahead and implement a safe wallet. Great, and let's pick a random one. For example, let's pick Exodus. It's called com.exodus. Great, so we have created a total of 3 wallets here. Now let's go ahead and import the supported wallets that we created in the utility file. Great, and let's pass this value to the wallets prop, which accepts a list. Okay, we don't need to create a list again. We can just pass in the supported wallets. It's already a list. Let's go back to our application, and let's go ahead and click on Connect Wallet. Great, so that's pretty much it for this video, and I just wanted to tell you guys about the way I have arranged the files in this project, because it was kind of becoming a mess with so many components that we have created in this video. So I've added most of these files inside the components folder, and there's also a subfolder called ConnectButton, where you'll find the components for the connect button that we added, which are the custom components, and you can find the list of components here. And I just wanted to point it out so that if you're a beginner, you may not get overwhelmed by the folder structure. And I have renamed our connect button component as new connect button. So this way, I'm pretty much just exporting the customized connect button here with the name of new connect button, and I'm importing it inside the page.tsx file where we were working on. So that's just a small point that I wanted to make. You can find this repository in the link down below. I will add it both to the description as well as the pinned comment. And if you have any questions regarding Thirdweb or this tutorial, then you can join the Discord server where I'm always active, and I'll be there to clear your doubts. Or if not me, then somebody else will definitely want to clear it out for you. And other than that, if you like this video, please make sure to like and subscribe if you found this valuable. And it took a lot of time for me to create this video. It took like 4 to 5 days of editing and shooting, and it will mean a lot if you can like and subscribe. And in the future videos, we will look more in depth into the embedded wallets as well as the smart wallets. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks a lot for watching.